Call to order the regular commission meeting for the city of Dickinson. Let the record show we're missing one commissioner, Commissioner Soboluk. First item up this evening is opening ceremonies, pledge allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We'll move into the order of business. Mr. Dossinger, are there any changes to the order of business?
Good evening, Mr. President, members of the Commission. There is a change to the order of business. There will be an addition underneath number 3, Administration and Finance. Letter I will be added, and it will be the Employee Longevity Stipend.
Thank you, Mr. Dossinger. Any questions for city staff on the amendment? Not, I'd look for a motion.
Mr. President, I move to approve.
Second.
We have a motion to approve by Commissioner Bear, second by Commissioner Oderman. Any discussion? All in favor of the amended order of business, state aye.
Aye.
Pose same sign. Next item on the agenda is the consent agenda. Are there any items on the consent agenda commissioners wish to discuss? Or there are no items on the consent agenda that the commission wishes to discuss, I'd look for a motion.
Move to approve.
Motion to approve by Commissioner Frederick,
Second.
second by Commissioner Oderman. Any further discussion? Not, we'll vote. Mr. Frederick,
Aye.
Mr. Oderman,
Aye.
Dr. Bear,
Aye.
chair votes aye. Motion carries. We'll move right into administration and finance. The first item up this evening, we have a website contract. Mr. Dossinger?
Thank you, Mr. President. City staff is looking for approval of the MuniCode website contract. This is an item that was budgeted for in 2023. This would modernize our web offerings through the use of MuniCode services. The MuniCode services helps us with the recodification process, hosting services, and website services, along with redesign of the website. The meetings, it also has a meetings management component to it. City staff is recommending approval of the MuniCode website.
Thank you, Mr. Dossinger. Any questions, commissioners, for Mr. Dossinger or staff on this website contract?
Just for overview, what's the total cost of all the services?
I'll ask IT manager, Mr. Aaron Meyer, to come forward. The codification process, as far as the timeline when it's going to be done, it'll be 10 to 12 months. The current estimated cost, we have $60,000 budget in 2023 for this.
That was my question.
Entire project, but we do not estimate that's going to cost that much.
From the depths of the back room.
It's a little chilly. Good evening, commissioners. The estimated cost for right now, year one, is at $39,500. We budgeted $60,000. That does not include yet in that cost the digitization of the ordinances or any of the resolutions to have them move that in as well. That's budgeted in that $60,000 though.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Meyer. Any other questions for city staff on this website contract? Not, I'd look for a motion.
Mr. President, I move to approve.
I have a motion to approve by Commissioner Bear,
Second.
second by Commissioner Frederick. Any further discussion? Hearing none, we'll vote. Dr. Bear,
Aye.
Mr. Frederick,
Aye.
Mr. Oderman.
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Our next item this evening is we have some city lots for sale. Mr. Dossinger?
Thank you, Mr. President. The City of Dickinson had listed several city parcels for sale for bids. We did receive bids on 3 parcels. The first bid is going to be the a small sliver of a parking lot directly right across from Trinity West Elementary. We did put a minimum bid amount of $2,000 on that property, and we did receive a bid in the amount of $2,005 on that parcel. City staff is recommending approval of accepting that bid.
Are we gonna do them all at once, or do we have to do each one?
We can do them individually. I think that'd be
Okay.
easiest.
Okay. So on the parcel number 0010-1400-2101, which is the west 20-foot of lots 21 and 22, block 14, we have a bid of $2,005. Look for a motion on that bid.
I would move we accept the $2,005 offer on that parcel.
We have a motion to accept the bid
Second.
and a second. So the original motion was by Commissioner Frederick, second by Commissioner Oderman. Any further discussion? Hearing none, we'll vote. Mr. Frederick?
Aye.
Mr. Oderman?
Aye.
Dr. Bear?
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Motion carries. Our second lot?
Thank you, Mr. President. The second lot is lots 9 and 10 of Block 9 of the original plat of the city of Dickinson in Stark County, North Dakota. We did have a minimum bid amount of $18,000 on that property. We did receive a bid in the amount of $18,000. This is a parking lot located near Stephen Saw and Bike. City staff recommends approval and acceptance of the bid in the amount of $18,000.
Thank you, Mr. Dossinger. Any questions or concerns on this lot? If not, this is a bid for parcel 0010-0900-0900, which is lots 9 and 10 of block 9, and it is for a bid of $18,000. I'd look for a motion.
Mr. President, I move to accept the bid of $18,000 on the parcel 0010-0900-0900.
Motion to approve the bid by Commissioner Bear,
Second.
second by Commissioner Oderman. Any further discussion? Hearing none, we'll vote. Dr. Bear?
Aye.
Mr. Oderman?
Aye.
Mr. Frederick?
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Motion carries. Mr. Dossinger, we have another a lot.
Thank you, Mr. President. The last parcel that we received the bids on was actually the combination of two lots. The first lot was Phase 2, Area B of Block 1 of Surrey Heights Edition. And the second lot that was combined with that was Lot 2, Block 5 of the Springwood Second Edition to the City of Dickinson. Those two lots were combined, listed for sale in combination because of the concern of one of the lots potentially being landlocked. We did put a recommended bid amount of $60,000 on those two parcels. We did receive one bid on the properties in the amount of $15,000. That bid was made by an adjacent landowner to that property. City staff is recommending not accepting the bid in the amount of $15,000.
Thank you, Mr. Dossinger. Any questions for Mr. Dossinger or city staff on this bid?
Are we gonna go back with a counter offer, or how are we gonna handle this?
Yes, I will reach out to him in the morning. He's expecting a phone call. And what we will do is relist these properties separate moving
Okay.
forward.
So city recommendation is to deny this bid. Yes, it's up to us as commissioners, so
I'd move to deny.
we have a motion to deny the bid by Commissioner Oderman,
Second.
second by Commissioner Bear. Any further discussion? Hearing none, we'll vote. Mr. Oderman,
Aye.
Dr. Bear,
Aye.
Mr. Frederick,
Aye.
chair votes aye. The motion to deny the bid is passed.
Sorry, I was confused on whether I should
That's fine.
vote nay or aye there.
All right, we have our 2023 tobacco license renewals are up next. And this will be handled by City Administrator Dossinger.
Thank you, Mr. President. So in your packet, you have several renewals for the 2023 tobacco license renewals. We received a renewal application from 45 tobacco license holders. There were 2 existing tobacco license holders that we have not received renewal applications from. Those are from Vapes and Elevate. We have contacted them on 2 separate occasions and have also mailed them an application renewal form. City staff is recommending approval of the renewal applications that we have received.
Thank you, Mr. Dossinger. Any questions for Mr. Dossinger on these 45 license renewals? If there are no questions, I'd look for a motion on the tobacco license renewals for 2023.
Mr. President, move to approve.
We have a motion to approve by Commissioner Frederick,
Second.
second by Commissioner Oderman. Any further discussion? Hearing none, we'll vote. Mr. Frederick,
Aye.
Mr. Oderman,
Aye.
Dr. Bear.
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Motion carries. Next up is our monthly financial report, and this will be handled by Accountant Maury.
Mr. President, we do have liquor license renewals on the agenda.
Sorry, I skipped a whole section there, D. Usually he's up at the podium already. I was wondering why. So, okay, so we'll go on to 2023 liquor license renewals.
Thank you. This time of year is when we start doing the renewals for liquor licenses. There were 18 commercial on-sale, off-sale liquor license renewals received. There were 3 hotel liquor license renewals received. One that did not renew in that category was the Badlands Inn and Suites, commonly known as the Red Coach, did not send in a renewal application. There were 3 lodge club liquor license renewals received, 14 restaurant liquor license renewals received, 1 beer and wine concession liquor license renewal, 1 microbrewery liquor license renewal, and 8 beer-only liquor license renewals received. Staff has completed background checks and reviewed the 48 liquor license renewal applications. City staff recommends approval.
Thank you, Mr. Dossinger. Any questions for Mr. Dossinger or city staff on the liquor license renewals for 2023? Not, I'd look for a motion.
Move to approve.
We have a motion to approve by Commissioner Oderman,
Second.
second by Commissioner Bear. Any further discussion? Hearing none, we'll go ahead and vote. Mr. Oderman,
Aye.
Dr. Bear,
Aye.
Mr. Frederick,
Aye.
chair votes aye. Motion carries. Now we'll move on to the financial report. Welcome.
Thank you, President Decker and Commissioners. So today we have our financial report as of the end of October. And so starting right off with our net working cash totals. Our net working cash is down about 3.7%. Not a huge change, but as we've mentioned before, I know we're going to see that unassigned cash is going to go down into about the $7.5 million range with our forecast to end 2022. Investments as well, we're not seeing any major changes. We're still right around that $33 million mark. So again, you won't see any major changes to these until we get to January when we make our budgeted contributions. For our 1% sales tax for October 2022 compared to October 21, you can see the green line is 22, the red line is 21, and the blue line is 2020. So you can see the green line in our sales tax is significantly higher. So in October, we're about 164,000 higher compared to October of 2021. Our 10-month total, we're actually up 746,000, so just about a 15% increase over the first 10 months of the prior year. Then our 0.5% sales tax, just to show, as a reminder to the public, that these are collected in 2 separate funds. And then under hospitality tax, another positive sign here as well. In October of 22, again, the green line you can see is pretty significantly higher, about $19,000 higher compared to October of 21. That's about a 21% a 21% increase compared to the prior year. First 10 months total, we're at 73,000 higher, just under a 10% increase compared to the 10 months of the prior year. Also in our occupancy tax, again, seeing higher numbers than prior year. October 22 was 23,000 higher compared to October of 21, so about a 62% increase there. And then 10 months total, we're up 51,000 compared to 10 months of the prior year. So a 21% increase over the first 10 months. And then oil impact as well, again, coming in higher than what we've seen in prior years. So the green line in October of 22, we're 324,000 higher compared to October of 2021. That's about a 27% increase there. And then 10-month total, we're actually about 3.4 million higher in our oil impact compared to the first 10 months of 2021. And then just an update on where we're at in our budget through 10 months. So we'd expect through 10 months to be about 83%. The first pie chart on the left, you can see is our general fund revenue. We collected so far 84%, so we're ahead of schedule there with 16% remaining. The pie chart on the right, we've expended 73% of our general fund budget, so we are under budget through 10 months. And then our final slide here, in our utility revenue, an update. So we're at 80% collected for our utility revenue, so just under that 83% mark. And then in our enterprise fund expenses, we're at 71% expended through 10 months, so also under budget there. So with that, city staff recommends approval, and I'll do my best to answer any questions you might have.
Thank you, Mr. Maury. Any questions for city staff on the monthly financial report? Not, I'd look for a motion.
Move to approve.
We have a motion to approve by Commissioner Bear,
Second.
second by Commissioner Frederick. Any further discussion? Hearing none, we'll vote. Dr. Bear,
Aye.
Mr. Frederick,
Aye.
Mr. Oderman.
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you.
Our next item up is we have a professional services agreement. This is for Federal Emergency FEMA Grant Program, and this will be handled by Deputy City Administrator Carlson.
Thank you, Commissioners. Presented is a professional service agreement for grant writing services that came through our RFP process. Mr. Daniel Schwartz, with his company Nexus Planning and Consulting LLC, specializes in federal emergency management or FEMA grant programs. He's located in Bismarck, North Dakota. This agreement has a term of 36 months. Compensation is at a maximum of 5% of total cost in the grant application or total project reimbursement costs from FEMA, whichever is lower. Payments to Nexus will only be due upon award of the grant. Staff and legal have reviewed this agreement, and staff recommends approval of the professional services agreement with Nexus Planning and Consulting LLC, and I'll stand for any questions you may have.
Thank you, Mrs. Carlson. Are there any questions for Mrs. Carlson or city staff?
And this grant's for what?
This is grant writing services.
Yeah.
So if we would have a snowstorm that is over and above, and we would claim, and the city would claim in for FEMA or hazardous, this is what this company does, and that they specialize in this. And so they will do all of their services of getting the grant and everything and put all the project together for the grant. If we don't receive it, we don't pay. They only pay if we receive it and based on the reimbursement cost.
So there's no specific reason as of now why we're writing for the grant? I mean, do we have,
No,
we're just writing?
just a retainage.
Gotcha. All right.
Yep.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Are there any other questions? Not, I look for a motion. We have a motion to approve by Commissioner Frederick,
Second.
second by Commissioner Bear. Any further discussion, questions? There are none, we'll vote. Mr. Frederick,
Aye.
Dr. Bear,
Aye.
Mr. Oderman.
Aye.
Chair votes aye, motion carries. Our next item up, we have an HR job description. This will be handled by HR Coordinator Nominuk. Welcome.
Thank you, President Decker and Commissioners. First up is the finance supervisor position that I'd like to talk about. This was approved as a promotional opportunity for the finance department with our 2023 budget. This position will report to Deputy City Administrator for Finance and Administrative Services and will work together closely in developing annual budget and overseeing the annual audit. Will maintain and monitor all financial records and continue to identify areas of cost savings on a citywide basis. The position will ensure compliance, implementation, and efficiency of the city financial policies, processes, and procedures. This position was really designed to help with future positions within the Department of Finance. Right now, Linda has several departments that report to her and nobody specifically that manages the finance staff. So this position would oversee all the finance staff and utility billing staff as well. This position does require a bachelor's degree, 3 years of progressive leadership and supervisory experience. We did put this position in grade 17 and will be an exempt, salary exempt position, and city staff recommends approval.
Thank you, Mrs. Nominick. Any questions on the finance supervisor position for the 2023 budget year? If there are none, I'd look for a motion.
Mr. President, I move to approve.
I have a motion to approve by Commissioner Bear,
Second.
second by Commissioner Oderman. Any further discussion? Hearing none, we'll go ahead and vote. Dr. Bear?
Aye.
Mr. Oderman?
Aye.
Mr. Frederick?
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Motion carries. Our next job description is Executive Assistant to the Engineer Community Development Director. Mrs. Nominick?
Thank you. This position also was an approved promotional position for the 2023 budget. What we're looking at with this position is to move someone to an executive assistant to the engineer, community development director, somewhat mirrored off of the executive assistant to the chief of police. Is kind of where we spin off from this one. This position will, with some of the reorganization that Engineer Sklozicek, if I said that right, is working on is since he's been here, he's been looking at the duties and the responsibilities within the department and what each position requires and the needs of the department as well. So with this position, it will be primarily looking at handling the CIP editor, keeping track of all the CIP projects. In the past, we've had some issues with consistent documentation, retention, and accessibility. This person will be, primarily responsible for all of that. Also training and guiding other administrative staff, planning and zoning meetings and minutes, and keeping track of all of that sort of information at a little bit higher level than an admin assistant would do. This position requires a minimum of 3 years experience in administrative support at a high level. We did put this position in grade 13. It is a non-exempt position. Will report to the engineer/community development director, and city staff is looking for approval.
Thank you, Mrs. Nominick. Are there any questions for Mrs. Nominick on this executive assistant to the engineer position? If there are none, I'd look for a motion.
Move to approve. Second.
We have a motion to approve by Commissioner Frederick, second by Commissioner Oderman. Any further discussion? Hearing none, we'll vote. Mr. Frederick?
Aye.
Mr. Oderman?
Aye.
Dr. Bear?
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Motion carries. Mrs. Nominick, you have a HR monthly report for us.
Yes, thank you. First up on the list is the library director position. We have completed the second stage of interviews for this position, so hoping to have a decision made on what direction we'll be going by the end of the week on this position. The limited hour library assistant, we've done interviews, at the interview stage as well for those positions. We have the planner position open. That will, we will be doing the interviews on that when that closes. That position does close on November 23rd. Communication specialist, we have several positions open there. We have been doing some interviews this week on that, so we're moving forward with that. Police officer, again, remains to be a position that's difficult to fill. We have 5 current positions. We did hire several, as you can see, one internal transfer, Danica Brost from dispatch. We have one person in the background. Dane Haugen was hired, Keegan Jacobson, Timothy Meyer. So we've got several hires. We still have 5 openings. So we're still working on that pretty diligently. Part-time firefighters, we did hire Jaden Wall. We have one in the background phase, and that continues to be a position that we just keep filling as we need to. The firefighter openings, we had 3 positions that were given for the 2023 budget. We did complete interviews on that. They've been working real hard trying to get those done with the snow day last week. That put us behind a little bit, but they're moving forward on that and have some good candidates. Fire captain was an internal position for 2023. They did complete the interview on that, and an offer is being contemplated right now. Solid waste, we have a labor and some operator positions. I think at this point, Aaron Prowse feels that filling them as operator positions are in his best interest. So it looks like we're going to close that labor position and concentrate on trying to hire operators. And we currently then would have 5 solid waste operator positions. We have the senior sanitation operator position that was recently approved as an additional senior, and those interviews are being set up this week or next week. Mechanic, we have filled one of those positions with one of our internal applicants. He was a lube tech for us, and he took the mechanic position, Arlen Beats. And so we have another mechanic position open, and then we'll have to get that lube tech position opened. Street maintenance operator, we currently have 5 openings there. And again, we have it open until filled. So as soon as we get some applicants, we are interviewing them. So we have some in the interview stage as we speak. The street and fleet manager, we have interviews scheduled for this week. So we're excited for that. We have several good candidates that we'll be interviewing. And then water reclamation facility, we had 1 opening there, and we have someone in the background phase for that. So hopefully that will be filled soon. Any questions that I can answer on the hiring journal?
Are there any questions for Mrs. Nominick? Oh, thank you.
Thank you.
It is 5 o'clock, so we will go to the public hearing and public comments section that are not on the agenda. Is there anyone from the public that wishes to come forward and ask any question of the city commission or has any concerns on items that are not on our agenda this evening? If you are watching at home, you wish to call in, 701-456-7006, and our control room will patch you through to us. Again, does anyone have any comments on items not on the agenda or any concerns within the city of Dickinson? Does anyone have any concerns? Seeing there are no questions for the city commission or any concerns, I'll close the public comment section. We will move back to our regular agenda. The first item up this evening in the the regular agenda after comment section is public safety, and this will be the police department has Chapter 5 code updates.
Mr. President, we had added an agenda item, letter I.
Oh, that is true. That is true. Excuse me. Don't have it on here, so should have known. Joe didn't jump up right away, just like Robbie didn't. So, Mr. Dossinger,
Thank you,
item
Mr.
I.
Thank you, Mr. President, members of the commission. In front of you is a request to use ARPA funding for a one-time longevity bonus for continued service based on total months active through November 30th of 2022. There would be $32 per month paid to hourly employees, $16 per month for exempt, $16 per month for part-time limited employees, and $16 per month for part-time firefighters. The amount estimated is at $549,664. The amount would be much less than that. City staff is recommending consideration from the commission to approve the use of ARPA funding for this stipend.
Okay, so it will be lower than the 549, right?
Yes.
Do we have an exact?
From the last sheet that we just completed, it is less than the 549. That's why I estimated at 550
Okay.
in the,
Do you have
presentation.
Do you have an exact number, Mrs. Carlson?
no, I don't have an exact, but I can tell you what the last one was. 458 and
That was last
$64.
year's.
No,
Oh, okay.
this is the new one.
Oh, that's
That
the
I'm
new
just
one?
we're
Okay.
working on. It's 458,000.
Okay.
So you almost saved $100,000 in like
Yes,
an hour or two.
Trying.
Good job.
Like I said, I can't guarantee that until I finalize it.
Okay. Yes, I want to be in the ballpark, so we approve this. Any other questions for Mrs. Carlson or Mr. Dossinger or city staff? This will be issued next week?
Correct. If this is passed, then we would start processing on Monday, the November 21st, which is not a payroll week, and then be in the accounts of the employees on the 23rd, before Thanksgiving.
Okay.
So, Attorney Wanko, how should a motion be worded on something like this?
Is it the intent, Commissioner Oderman, to approve this exact proposal?
Yeah.
I think that you can simply say that you are moving to approve the suggested option for the 2022 stipend as outlined on the attached slide provided by Assistant City Administrator. Oh, boy.
Could you
Okay.
make- could you make
Mr.
it-
Dossinger and Ms. Carlson. Okay, we're going to start that all over.
Did you
Okay.
make it a little longer?
So moved.
Did you get that, Rita?
So moved.
I'm not either, so.
Okay, so we have a motion to approve by Commissioner Oderman.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Frederick. Any further discussion or questions? Hearing none, we'll vote. Mr. Oderman?
Aye.
Mr. Frederick?
Aye.
Dr. Bear?
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Motion carries. Now we'll move on to Interim Police Chief Siani. And we're
Mr.
going to have
Mayor,
our Chapter
Commissioners.
5 code updates.
Good evening. Chapter 5 remains unchanged from the first reading. I feel that no questions or concerns from the general public. Recommend approval and final passage.
Thank you, Captain Siani. Any questions, concerns? If there are none, I'd look for a motion.
Mr. President, I move to approve.
We have a motion to approve by Commissioner Bear,
Second.
second by Commissioner Oderman. Any further discussion or questions? Hearing none, we'll vote. Dr. Bear?
Aye.
Mr. Oderman?
Aye.
Mr. Frederick?
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Motion carries. And we have monthly report from Police Department, so
And your favorite report, but
it is, it is. You're just pulling slightly ahead of everybody else, but just this month.
all right, for October, we posted 2,253 calls for service. This is up from the 2,240 we posted last month. October's total call volume was down from October of last year. However, overall year-to-date numbers, as you can see, this remains higher at 23,315 calls for service. Conducted 289 traffic stops, which resulted in 93 citations and 146 warnings. Of the 93 citations, 23 of those were speeding related. 62 traffic crashes were investigated, with 3 involving an injury, 1 involving a pedestrian, and 11 hit and runs. Made approximately 184 arrests, which is up from last month and up from October of last year as well. Arrest numbers have increased. Some of October arrests consisted of 14 felonies, 85 misdemeanors, and 8 infractions, amongst other charges. Some notable incidents that occurred in October is we did have 3 young men that were arrested on multiple felony charges, which included robbery, terrorizing, felon in possession of a firearm. These charges were a result of a confrontation which occurred at J.C.'s Park, in which one of the men brandished a firearm while attempting to facilitate a robbery and destruction of a cell phone. It's important to note that no one was injured in this incident, and the suspect and the victim were known to one another. So, do want to highlight as well that Rainbow or Skittles fentanyl, has been described, has made its way into the community. Task force did make a seizure of this. As you can see, they're very colorful. They're meant to lure the younger generation, children, into consumption. Scary thing, kind of look like Flintstones chewables to a certain extent as well. Fentanyl has unfortunately become quite common in the area and results in a number of overdoses and deaths throughout the past few years. And just a reminder that fentanyl is most common form is a counterfeit oxycodone pill that's stamped with an M30 on it. They're very difficult to differentiate from the actual fentanyl from the oxycodone pills, but you need to be cognizant of that. They're referred to as blues on the street. You can see the picture on the right there is the common version. The left is the most recent, coming over the border from Mexico. So be cognizant of that when you're dealing with children or seeing this stuff that's not in properly contained prescription bottles, especially for the oxycodones.
Chief, are any of these disguised in candy, or is it just
There
play
is
bags?
there is some out there that has been found to be described more like candy, but we haven't seen that in our
Okay, we
area.
haven't
This is
seen
the
it here in
first
our-
closest thing to a candy derivative that we have seen, as these colorful rainbow Skittles, as they call them.
I've been seeing on the news that some of this is now becoming Narcan resistant also.
What's that?
Some of this fentanyl's Narcan resistant, I was hearing.
It
reading.
is, yes, and fortunately, everyone carries Narcan, and if it wasn't for Narcan, the community would see a lot more overdose deaths. Becoming commonplace for the addicts to carry their own Narcan now and actually revive one another at some point. Some of the things don't even get reported to law enforcement. They go directly to the hospital for some of these overdoses. So the hospital has been cooperative with us in providing some data as far as overdose-related calls that they have seen that's unspecific to gender or anything like that. So we're working on it. Task force is doing their best. They are short too. We haven't been able to fill our second task force position, obviously because of shortages in manpower. So we're all struggling to work on this one, but it's an epidemic, no doubt. No doubt. Back, criminal investigations, detectives were called out 8 times. This totals 82 call-outs on the year compared to 57 last year. Some of the call-outs range from 2 sexual assaults to a child abuse neglect investigation. CID opened 43 new cases in October. These cases ranged anywhere from 5 agency assists to 2 death investigations. CID has an open active caseload of approximately 61 cases. Their year-to-date open case average of nearly 70 remains comparatively high. There's another group that's been short for an extended period of time because the resources have to be allocated to patrol to keep patrol services operational. So something to keep in mind with our shortages. Behavioral health, we responded to 107 behavioral health related calls for service, ranging anywhere from 13 mental health calls to 3 intoxicated subjects. Training, posted nearly 364 hours of training. Some of the training includes a 40-hour course in ICAC training, Internet Crimes Against Children. We also hosted Street Cops training, which covered 16 hours of instruction related to reading body language and unmasking facial expressions. Records, fingerprinted 37 people, registered 12 sex offenders, processed 47 warrants and summonses. Dispatch calls for service, dispatchers handle 843 calls for service, 911 calls, and 4,704 non-emergency calls for service. The busiest people in this period was animal control. They handled 154 calls for service. 103 of these calls being related to stray or animal at large. Those numbers are going to continue to increase for them just for the sake of the weather out there. More people are calling in animals that are stray out there for concern of their well-being. 85 animals were actually impounded, those animals range anywhere from 52 dogs to 34 cats. Of all those that were impounded, there's only 9 that remain in the pound, so they've been doing a good job of getting these animals farmed out and till they're reunited with their owners. SROs handled 33 calls for service at the high school, which resulted in 11 juvenile referrals. They had 29 calls for service at the middle school, resulting in 3 juvenile referrals. And the elementaries are a little bit busier than typical, with 16 calls for service with 2 juvenile summons or referrals issued. Brings us somewhat into our community relations. We had Coffee with a Cop at Prairie Hills Mall. Of course, it was DSU Homecoming, which was a successful event, and Trick or Trunks downtown, which has become an extremely popular event. With that, the school resources kicked off 5th grade DARE training at the Heart River Elementary. They participated in Red Ribbon Week across the school district and provided a number of safety talks. Coming back to Trick or Trunk, we have senior SRO Officer Taylor Peters on the right and SRO Jarrett Blame on the left. They were our featured attractions at the Trick or Trunk. So with that, I wanted to remind everyone that the PD is doing its own little Thanksgiving dinner food drive that we're hoping to have a bunch of meals put together for some needy out there in the community. Perishables we partnered with the Dickinson Public School District, and perishables for this can be dropped off at any one of the Dickinson Public Schools or at the PSC. At the Public Safety Center, we are also collecting perishables and non-perishables. We have some freezers in the garage and that were donated for use. So anybody wants to participate in that, we welcome the service. So with that, any questions?
Are there any questions? All right, thank you.
Thanks, Chief.
Try to skip something here. All right, next up, we have Community Development Services, and we have a rezone request for Little One Minor Subdivision. And this will be handled by Engineering and Community Development Director Skluzacek.
All right, thank you, Mr. President and Commissioners. The Little One subdivision, it's requested by Linda Little, and it's a rezone from agriculture to rural residential of a 20.5 acre property, which legal description is Lot 2, Block 1 of Little One Minor Subdivision in the city's extraterritorial zone. The property is currently developed with a single-family residence, and the property owner wishes to divide Lot 2, Block 1 into 3 separate lots And then with the two separate lots, they would both be less than 5 acres, and thus requiring the expectation of moving from ag zoning to rural residential. This has gone through Planning and Zoning Commission, and so city staff recommends approval.
Thank you. Are there any questions on this rezone request? There are no questions. I'd look for a motion.
Move to approve?
I have a motion to approve by Commissioner Bear,
Second.
second by Commissioner Oderman. Any further questions or comments on this rezone?
I just want to say hats off to the department here. I think that this packet was really nice. I mean, with the vicinity map and things like that. Keep up the good work.
Thank you, sir.
All right, if there are no further comments or questions, we'll go ahead and vote. Dr. Bear?
Aye.
Mr. Oderman?
Aye.
Mr. Frederick?
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Motion carries. Next up, we have a North Dakota DOT agreement for microsurfacing project on Interstate 94 Business Loop from 10th Avenue East to Interstate 94.
The North Dakota DOT is planning a project, and in this case, there's a local cost participation associated. The project's in its early stages, but it'll have to be a signed agreement with the city of Dickinson, and so just bringing this forward and presenting it, and then the DOT will move forward. The total project cost is estimated. Apologize, I'm flipping through. Total project cost is estimated right at $1 million, and scheduled to occur in the calendar year 2023.
Josh, isn't this the road we just paved?
Correct, yeah, it's preventative maintenance.
Oh,
Basically, provide that nice clean surface, and then also ensure that the friction is still in place for winter weather travel, and especially, or wet conditions.
what's our cost share on this? 20%? Like,
In this case, being a secondary regional system, I believe we're at 10% on this
10%.
one.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Any further questions on this resurface?
Move to approve.
We have a motion to approve by Commissioner Oderman,
Second?
second by Commissioner Frederick. Any further questions? We'll go ahead and vote. Mr. Oderman?
Aye.
Mr. Frederick?
Aye.
Dr. Bear?
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Motion carries. We also have a light project, traffic signals for Highway 22 from Broadway Street to 9th Street West.
Yes, again, thank you, Commissioners. The North Dakota Department of Transportation is planning to do a traffic signal analysis and then construct or change up their traffic signals. Again, in this case, we would have a cost participation and, I apologize, cost participation in this case, because its primary regional system is 0%. But it still requires our agreement and collaboration. And right now, having discussed this internally with the departments, the plan is we would include our traffic cameras and some of that infrastructure in with this project. The RFP just went out through the North Dakota Department of Transportation, so the engineering consulting services haven't even been selected yet.
So is there a chance they come in and decide they're going to remove some lights?
There's always a chance.
Because that would be a concern, you know, noting which lights we have there. I guess my concern would be around the, you know, the elementary schools there and those three there. I'm pretty sure that far north and far south one are going to remain.
Yeah,
I'm concerned if they decide to pull one out.
I mean, being they're a block apart, that's always a concern.
Yeah, I mean, I'll continue to be involved through the project and update you if in fact any of them are planned to be removed. But it'll be studying a series of those intersections along that route, and then part of the intent as well is to, if possible, coordinate some of the signal timing, keep traffic flowing and moving, so.
I would agree that the signal timing probably needs to be updated, and the cameras and some of the other synchronization. Maybe even just the poles themselves and lights probably they're probably
Some of the
pretty,
ages are
they're
quite
dated.
significant.
I was
So-
gonna say, those are ancient lights.
Yeah.
Some of them.
I was going to say, is there any way they could consider some left turn lights? That they would-
That'll all be part of the consideration.
Okay.
As of right now, I guess there is the center turning movement opportunity, so I would anticipate that to be at least part of the consideration. But
I know like around St. Pat's, that could get really congested there with everybody coming up 22 from the south. And I know like that could get back up. It would be nice to have a left turn signal right there.
Okay, so if there are any more comments or questions, we'll look for a motion.
Move to approve.
Motion to approve by Commissioner Frederick,
Second.
second by Commissioner Oderman. Any further discussion? Hearing none, we'll go ahead and vote. Mr. Frederick,
Aye.
Mr. Oderman,
Aye.
Dr. Bear?
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Motion carries. And you have an update for us on the slope stability anchor easement.
yeah, so as you recall, this is the slope stability area, kind of to the west and south of the Holiday gas station, just off of Third Avenue. Just as a general report, we continue to make progress. We've brought together all proposals and estimates, and right now we're currently reviewing the overall scope of work and just trying to understand basically is there anything that we can eliminate or anything we can do better in this case. We've initiated the process for the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers permitting and trying to get that moving forward, and still waiting on the easement from the Holiday gas station. I can't remember the exact company name. And then once that's in place, we're at least gonna, Gary and I have been looking at or considering requesting a cost share with the Holiday gas station for this project, and then also looking into if there are any grants or other kind of funding opportunities available due to the cost of the project. So with that being said, I guess our desire, our approach to right now is that hopefully at the next commission meeting, we'll have a full report and request approval on the cost and bring that to you at that time, so.
Well, thank you for that update. Are there any questions on the slope stability anchor easement?
What's
In
the
the works.
ballpark on that one again?
Right now, where we're sitting, obviously put a set of variance on this, but actual estimate without contingency, we're about 415,000. So that's no contingency.
How would Holiday have any cost share in this? I'm trying to figure out, I mean, it's our drainage ditch, right?
It's our drainage ditch, but the circumstances, I guess they built right over the top of that bank, knowing that drainage ditch exists right there. And because of the proximity of the building, the parking lot, tanks and other infrastructure, I mean, that's ultimately something from an initial construction, initial development standpoint, that they should have been aware of those risks, and if they were concerned, should have, move their infrastructure plans further away from the bank, so. It's not necessarily something that we need to go down that path, but I guess we'd be open to feedback.
I mean, is that been part of the cause of it failing? Because it's been there for a long time, is what I'm, or is it just because we had a lot of water running through it this year?
I mean, you could definitely contribute. There's a host of different reasons, whether it be certain rain events or things like that, but also just loading, extra loading from the parking lot, from the building, the steepness of the slope, those kind of things. So,
Okay, thank you.
yes.
All right. And that is it from planning and engineering and development. So we'll move on to Public Works, and they have their monthly report for us. See if Gary can move ahead in his, who's got the favorite report. We're really gonna have to work on.
Yeah,
HR Nominuk, you're gonna have to put some graphics in that chart or something. You're definitely on, we're gonna have to talk to Joel about getting you some marketing there on that, so.
Save the best for last, huh, Gary?
well, and that's what I was, that was my first opening statement right there. Save the best for last. So, good evening, President Decker and Commission. We're going to look at Public Works October monthly report. Again, our services, and I just want to remind the public, if there's any questions on any of these services, please call 456-7979, and we can sure help direct your call. A lot of times, you know, people trying to get a hold of the government, it's just getting a hold of the right people, so I want to make sure they can do that. First of all, winter preparations have been underway in October. Street operators were preparing equipment. We were training operators, getting material, sand, salt, and the cutting edges. And one of the things we really were concerned about this year is keeping our fuel topped off. You know, there was the discussion of shortage of diesel, so we made sure everything was full, and we're going to make sure that we don't get very low at all this year and keep that topped off for the winter. We also reviewed our winter ops plan, and we had a lot of discussion on outreach this year, and I'm still meaning to get with Joel, and he's going to Joel and Mr. Meyer did help a lot with this last snow event, and I think we have a lot of good things moving forward as far as getting outreach to the public and getting information as soon as we can. Capital projects, Mausoleum Edition for October. The granite roof install was delayed. Masonry bond beam installed on the new mausoleum. Roofing existing mausoleum was part of the project, and the roof trusses are on site. Now there'll probably be a delay till spring on a lot of those things at the mausoleum. Special events, Water Utilities Manager Dwayne and Senior Water Reclamation Facility Operator attended WEFTEC this year. It's a national conference and does have really good quality education, and they can meet the companies that built our water reclamation facility. If you have any questions, you can meet with them one-on-one and look at any upgrades to the plant, water reclamation facility, and it was quite helpful for them. We also had a recycle truck on display at Hagen Preschool. 8 classes participated. We had the tree dedication, which I think has been discussed before, in memory of former city forester Vern Quam on October 5th. And again, I appreciate everybody that attended. We had a good turnout for that. OpWorks work orders. This is our OpWorks system. You can see a breakdown of work orders that came in through our OpWorks. We are trying to define our general. 31% is general. We're still trying to define that a little better. A lot of things have been placed under general, but to just look at that a little closer and kind of look where a lot of those requests come in. Fleet work orders, as you can see, like normal, most of the ones are solid waste recycling fleet work orders, and then close second is PD and streets. Streets a little higher this month because of the preparation for winter. Usually it's solid waste and PD are usually racing each other to see who takes most of the time up for our fleet. Fuel usage, pretty even between unleaded and clear. Diesel, again, unleaded is mostly the public safety, and clear is public works, most of the equipment. Street department activities in October, mentioned a little bit, but they were crack sealing, and again, the winter equipment preparations continued. Forestry, tree removal contracts ending. They removed 18 Dutch elm disease trees throughout the city, and there's another 20 trees that have been identified with Dutch elm disease, and our new forester is working on that pretty diligently. He's also worked on clearing and pruning overgrown alleys, identifying and mitigating hazardous road intersections, and also now looking at ordering our trees for the spring and making plans for Arbor Day next year. He's also spent some time getting a design for us for a shelter belt at the water reclamation facility, which I think will help long-term to try to get more trees out there and maybe expand an area for a tree farm. Buildings and grounds, winding down summer activities. Now they're doing some inside activities along with winterizing or keeping the snow cleared. They also winterize sprinklers and the normal checks and maintenances. Solid waste tonnage, October pretty close to October of '21. Year-to-date comparison, we're a little higher this year than last year. I think last month or the month before, that graph looked skewed a little bit, but we are within, what, 520 pounds, or excuse me, tons from this year to last year for solid waste.
Gary, a lot of that is shingles, maybe? A lot of shingles coming off?
It could be. I think there's maybe a next slide here. Yeah, here we go. Construction demolition material. I think some of that we did look at this year when we were going through this. I think there was, you can see the construction demolition, I think, was up a little bit, if I recall, probably from some of the shingles. I know there's been a lot of replacements this fall on the shingles. On this slide, the household material is about 50-50 between the city and surrounding areas. So again, most of the household tonnage coming in the landfill, not most, half and half, is city tonnage and other residents or other communities' household waste, which again makes it the Southwest Regional Landfill. Baylor was down 3 weeks in October. And then you can see the working wall of what we call cell 3B4 on the bottom left. Recycling single stream was down for the month of October. A slight decrease, and I'm not sure, we had some discussion on that, but I don't know what the reasoning was for the slight decrease. Utility bill working orders, these are the work orders. These are the work orders that come from City Hall and the Great Plains system. You can see in October 22 versus 21, one thing I wanted to note, it looks like delinquents have more than doubled in October 22 versus October 21 is what we see. In 22, we are doing our own. Also in 22, we were doing our own meter and register upgrades, which shows in our utility billing work orders. So that's an increase in our work orders for delinquents and the additional work orders that were created for replacing the meters and our registers, MIUs. Work orders for water utilities. Southwest Water purchased, we're pretty similar, down a little bit from last year, but pretty close. 2022, you can see right now we're about 800 million gallons we purchased. I think 3-4 years ago, we were almost at I think about 1 billion gallons. It was probably that real dry year. Pretty close compared to last year. Water vendor gallons. This is the amount from our water vendor on Broadway. You can see it's considerably higher. when we looked at this, I know there was still a lot of work by Michaels and some boring companies, so I think that's kind of the skew for this year. Of course, you can see it all over town, the holes in the ground, so I think a lot of that was from the usage from our water vendor. Septic haulers were up in October on our new septic receiving station. Total gallons effluent to the river, 10 million gallons were 10.5 million gallons were sold to the refinery, 70 million gallons were sold to the river, and hopefully in a year or so that'll be switched around where we'll only have 10 million to the river and sold the rest. But continue to work on that.
Or into Patterson.
Yeah, or in a Patterson, whatever, somewhere else than the Hart River on that end.
Right.
So.
The river's buying water from us?
What's that?
The river's buying water from us?
No, would
Well,
we?
you said sold to the river. I'm just
sorry,
teasing you.
sold. It's getting late. Yeah. Sold instead of the river. That would be great. Land applied sludge, we're done with that now. That's all put away. A lot of hours applying sludge and cost, and we are looking at different system, a dewatering system this next year. Probably bring more of that forward on that design. Major repairs, lift station 9 was done on 8th Avenue. Some pictures of major repairs done by the water utility crew. They replaced the pipe from the wet well to the check valve in the dry well. And also September through October, we winterized the 1,579 hydrants. I told our utility manager, I said, you got anything else to share? He said, well, we winterized all the hydrants. I said, how many hydrants did you winterize? 1,579. I said, well, maybe that's worth sharing, that was some time done doing those hydrants. It does take a while. Each hydrant is documented and oiled and checked for water. Threads are checked, and so that is a fall maintenance activity that does take quite a while. Public Works openings, I'm just about done. We have, as you can see, many vacancies in Public Works. With the reduced employees in solid waste right now, we're looking at different options. Currently, we can't bail. We don't have enough people to bail, and so garbage is sent to the landfill loose filling. One of our concerns is that, if we continue to have vacancies, we'll have to look at maybe some reduced services or hours. So that's a concern. We did have a great conversation prior to this meeting, so I'm hoping some of those solutions will move forward and will help with our situation. We continue to cross-train Public Works employees as we did this last winter storm, which was great. Great help in an emergency, but it's not sustainable long-term or daily. So we continue to look at options, and I appreciate everybody's time this afternoon as we looked at options to fill these positions. So it is difficult. We're trying to keep services the same, and hopefully we get some positions filled. And then that's the end of it. Please sign up for the Dickinson Works app. I think that helped too during the storm. They can get notices. The more people signed up, the better they can get the little text or information about events or a storm event. So I appreciate it very much, and thank you. I'll answer any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Zuroff. Any questions for Public Works Director Zuroff or staff?
You didn't touch on the downtown square. Are we kind of shut down for the winter now, or?
That's
I thought that's one of your projects. It's always on.
not
this-
anymore.
Oh, never mind then.
Yeah,
I remembered on your last report.
yeah.
A couple reports.
Maybe current city engineer or Dossiger has an update on Town Square.
Mr. President, members of the commission, I see Mr. Tews is in the background. If he'd like to give us a brief update, I see he stood up.
I think he was trying to sneak out the door.
He's trying to sneak out the door, so we'll catch him on the spot here.
Any other questions for me till I leave?
Nope.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Gary.
Didn't leave fast enough.
I was trying. Just a brief update. Yeah, winter caught us. We have about 2,200 square feet of concrete left to pour. Our biggest concern, I guess, is in the splash pad area because we do have a lot of work in place that we got to protect. So we're going to go and shelter that and protect that for the winter. There's some concrete in the right of way that has to be redone and some grade issues that have come to light the last couple weeks. Just kind of bringing everything together. Overall, it's been going good. We're going to get the support buildings finished up. The panels that were delayed till February or March look like they're going to be here in February and March. So we moved all the plantings to the spring. So I think we'll be on track as discussed for a June celebration to open it. So hopefully if this winter leaves us before April, we can get back in there and finish up the stuff in the right of way. And overall, it's going good though. Good transition between Dusty and Gary, so I don't have any issues. We are working through some great issues that Josh stepped in last week and discussed with us, so we're getting good cooperation from the city. Good.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Commissioners, it's your time. Anything before we adjourn?
I'd just like to say one thing. Just want to send out a congratulations and kudos to Kelly Braun and the airport staff. November 3rd, the new runway opened. And so anyone flying in or out, you're on the new runway. So that's pretty exciting. And hopefully the next thing will be the new terminal.
Hopefully, we can keep working. Keep working, putting a little bit of words into the federal delegation and get some of that money back here so we can get a new terminal and get to work on Patterson. So, anything else, commissioners?
Mr. President, following that theme of congratulations, I wanted to congratulate Mike LaFleur on being elected Majority Leader of the North Dakota House.
I did not know that.
Yeah, it just happened last night, so
Oh.
I think that's a good thing for our community in the western part of the state, but also for the state of North Dakota. So congratulations to Mike. He used to actually sit up here as a commissioner. So, and then I had one other question. I know that we've talked over the last year about work being done, renovation or expansion of the existing museum. And I'm just wondering if there's been any additional conversation about that, or if we have any update on how that's going, if there's any planning going on there.
Actually, between the legal and myself, we have just approved the RFP, so it's going to be going out the end of this month. And then I think it closes like December 19th. So the RFP is going out for design and architectural.
Okay.
So,
Thank you.
yep.
Anything else, commissioners? Look for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
We are adjourned.